Welcome to Beyond the Art, where creativity knows no bounds and innovation takes center stage. Join us on a captivating journey through the realms of the Native American art world, exploring the untold stories, inspirations, and the sheer brilliance that fuels the world of Indigenous artistry. Well, welcome to Beyond the Art. Today we have with us as our guest, Jhane Myers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Jhane, why don't you go ahead and share with us your journey as a Native American producer and artist, and what inspired you to pursue this career path?
Sure. I think what inspired me is because I'm Comanche and Blackfeet, and I wanted to see like a more accurate portrayal of Native people on screen and in stories, and even us telling our own stories. So I figured that I could do that by being a producer and following that producer path, and that's exactly what I did.
What infused your Native American heritage and culture into your work? How do you do that?
How do I do that? I do that
Hmm.
every day. I
Yeah.
wake up and this is who I am. So, I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer and it's something pretty easy. I spent a lot of my career studying in different career paths, whether it was with museums, whether it was with language, and whether it's culture. And encompassing my fine art, that gave me a lot of contacts throughout those worlds and also like helped me I'm able to have a multifaceted career because of all the previous studies.
Lots of juggling, I assume.
Absolutely.
So, what challenges have you faced as an American or Native American in the entertainment industry, and a woman, in fact, as well as to that? And how have you overcome them?
I think the woman is more of a challenge than the Native American part. I think you don't see a lot of women
Right.
in this industry, and let alone someone who's also Native American. I think people are now ready to hear our stories. I think people are, prompted to get it to be more accurate, and to get away from like the fantasy type and the romanticism
Hmm.
type, and they're ready for that type of authenticity. So I'm just glad that I'm here at this time, and able to open some doors, and hopefully I open doors for a lot of people as well.
Your work often explores themes of identity and heritage. Can you tell us about your creative process?
Sure. Well, my creative process, I'm fully hands-on. I don't know if, a lot of people can say that, but because I have like a multifaceted background where I can do like traditional arts, or
Hmm.
it's more than just explaining to somebody, well, this is the right way to do this, or this is how you do this. I can actually show them. And I think that makes a big difference. Also, I think the access to information, I'm able to get information really fast. It's funny, sometimes we'll be sitting in a meeting and I'll have my phone and, someone will say, "Well, I wonder how this is done." And I'll just, like, text
All right.
somebody and then I'll get a, answer back from a curator, or something, "Okay, so this is done like this." And they're like, "Oh my god, how did you just find that out?" So, I think that kinda helps my process because, I'm just like I guess I can say I'm all in.
Hands on, and all in. Well,
Absolutely.
how do you see the role of Native American artists evolving in today's cultural landscape, especially right
Oh,
now with the ebb and flow of us telling our story and the films that's out there and the TV shows and fashion and all the other creative components actually getting the spotlight finally.
right. I think it's a great time. I think that, there's room for all of us, and there's, room for us in many different facets. And I think that's what we need to remember. Not everybody can be a director, not everybody's a writer, not everybody's a producer, but there's, numerous things you can do. And
Mhm.
if you're a camera person, or if you're working, in the costume department, or if you're, doing, whatever you're doing, I think that's really important. The more people that we have on hand and the more people that we have on crews, that's a big plus.
Mhm. What projects are you working on now?
Ah, I have a documentary on Leonard Peltier, and I have a couple of narratives, TV. I have a cooking show, episodic
Oh,
cooking
wow.
show. Let me look. I have my board like above my desk. I have a dry erase board. So funny you should ask. Yeah, an animation and 3 features, so,
Wow.
along with the documentary, so and the documentary on Leonard Peltier, I think, is really timely. And I think I try to go back and forth, between independent and big studio because
Hmm.
I try to leverage anything that I have done with big studio to do something that's, I mean, all films with native content are meaningful, but I think there's some of those stories that have been neglected, and some of those stories that are amazing teaching tools or teaching for the moment. And I just don't want Leonard Peltier to be forgotten.
Right, right.
We're coming
So
up
how,
on his 49th year, and a lot of the young people don't know who he is. And just having that backstory and being able to work with other Native creatives and
mhm.
bringing the story to the forefront is, in my career, for me, I think it's huge.
So how do these ideas above your head
Yes,
come to you? I
they're
mean,
all up there in the dry
what's
erase.
how's the creative process? Is it something that you dream about, something that you've just noted? And I mean, do you have a stockpile of ideas that you want to get in production and work on?
I think I have a stockpile of ideas. I think I have, other creatives that come to me and ask me to produce. And if you hear this noise in the background, it's cold here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I
Oh
have a
yeah.
fireplace going. So, no, I think, people come to me and we partner on different things. And I just like start writing out the different ideas and the different story ideas, and then I rank them on like a good producer has 3 different projects in, 3 different stages. That way you're continuously working.
Right.
So you have something, that's, maybe in development, something that's in pre, something that's in production or in post. And, so I just rank them like that. I'm looking right now. Oh, it says 8, but,
Ooh, you're
There's
busy.
some of them that are in, like, really early development. But no, so I just wanna keep that going and keep that momentum going and keep working, and I think by having different things to work on, it really keeps you fresh. I mean, for me, it
Hmm.
keeps me fresh because then I'm really motivated. Because if something stalls on something, then I'll flip to the other one and move that and start, working on different things, so it's always, like, a continual, different fresh ideas.
Hmm. Now, I had a question and then kind of just went away. Tell us about the culinary show that you have.
Yes, that's kind of interesting. So that's hopefully it's being sold pretty quick, but it's native chefs. And the way that they compete is it's a challenge, and I can't really tell you like the name or anything yet, but and the
Right.
people that are involved, but they go to different native I guess different native homelands. Like so they're not like in a like one environment and they're cooking
Hmm.
against each other. They have to go and like maybe forage or use the things that's available or indigenous to those areas and then make something. So nobody
Fantastic.
ever has the upper hand because they're all in
Right.
different places. So I think it's
Right.
kind of interesting because it really kind of shows like it'll show people like that watch it that are interested in cooking, but it also introduces them to a native homeland they may not be familiar with. Also different things that, they cook with that may not, they don't have, right? So
Right.
everybody's
Right.
trying something new.
Not to talk about me, but I actually was pitched an idea to be the host of two shows because of the urban ebb and flow of the native experience right now. And maybe I'll have to just pitch them to you.
Yes, there you go. I hear pitches all the time. I read
Yeah.
scripts
Yeah.
all the time, read books all the time, so it's okay.
Same with you. I hear you.
And what tribe are you? Tell me about you.
I am a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and also the Delaware Indian tribe of Indians. And I also have ancestry in Mohawk, Chickasaw, and Wyandotte.
Ah, are you from Oklahoma?
I live in Oklahoma. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I used to come here as a kid with my great grandparents and my great great grandmother, who too lived until 104.
Oh, nice,
So
wonderful. Well,
she
how
had a
come you don't
lot of.
have an accent from like me? I'm from Oklahoma.
Well, I've kind of lived on almost every continent except for Antarctica.
Okay,
I've lived in
cool.
California. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in South Africa. I've lived in Australia. I've lived in Singapore. So I've moved around quite a bit.
Okay, well, that's good. I have an accent, I think,
Yeah,
or at least
a little
or so
bit,
I'm
a little
told,
bit.
or so I'm told.
Well, I'm picking up the lingo. I've been here 5 years, so there's certain words now that I have a tendency to say in my vocabulary, and people are like, "What? Where are you from?" In what ways do you collaborate with other artists, both within and outside the Native American community?
It's always a collaboration, whether it's director like Dan Trachtenberg and I,
Mm-hmm.
collaborated on Prey, anything to get the creative process done. I mean, to get something to move forward and to get it to move forward in the right way, you always have to be open to those talks. You have to know which hill to die on and which hill not to
Right.
die on. And I think it's really important how you pick your collaborators too, because you want to pick
True.
people that have a creative process similar to yours. And that was one thing about working on Prey. Dan and I, we always tease each other because we've never had a disagreement.
That's
We've
good.
never
That makes
we've
it
never
nice.
argued, never had a disagreement, and I can't say that about everything I've been on. So I think that's kind of important is being picky with your collaborators.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you balance preserving traditional Native American art forms with exploring contemporary expressions in your work?
I think it's always a constant balance, and I think that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the things about being an artist, because sometimes, I need to step away, from, like, looking at these scripts or trying to change something or trying to, fine tune something, and then I'll go and make a piece of art, and then when I make a piece of art, it's like, "Oh, I didn't think of this. Well, maybe I'll just go
Right.
back and do that." So I think it all just works together, and it all works together for me, which is what I appreciate. So, I think that, there's so much opportunity for really good storytelling. There's so much opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
great work. And I think it was funny because I come from a marketing background. And early on, I worked for Ralph Lauren. And when you're in a sales training thing, they tell you just keep going, going, and when people have enough, they'll
Right.
tell you to stop. So I try to
Right.
use that with infusing things with native content. I just keep going, 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 and when it's enough, somebody will say, "Oh my God, okay, I think we have enough,"
Stop.
or yeah, stop, stop. So that's kind of an interesting story too, because I was a senior sales executive for Ralph Lauren at one time in my career, and then just recently in I guess it was in October, we shot the Ralph Lauren campaign that you saw with
Mm-hmm.
Naomi Glasses, the first artist in residence, and I was able to produce
Yay.
on that. So, so I think that you should always keep your contacts great, because those future collaborations, like if you would have told me in the '90s that I would be, working with Ralph Lauren and producing on some of their campaigns, I would have went, "What?" "No, I'm this," or So, I think that's kind of good because I still have, like, a lot of those connections, and then, we enter into talks, and they're like, "Oh, didn't you say you're a producer? Do you think you can" and I ended up producing my first thing for them was during the pandemic.
Oh,
So I
wow.
think that, and then obviously I did a decent job, right? Because then
Right.
I had the
They
artist in
came back.
residence campaign, and then they came back to me, and said, "Can you be our consulting producer on this campaign?" And I said, "Absolutely."
That's fantastic. Yeah, I've reached out to Naomi to get on the show, but I haven't heard anything
It's her
as of
birthday
yet.
today. So
Oh, it
happy
is?
birthday, Naomi Glasses. Yes.
Oh,
She's
maybe that.
actually in New York, so it's amazing.
Wow. You also worked with Pichon Bread as well, currently,
Oh,
haven't you?
yes. Yes. Do you know her?
She was, well, she was on the show 2 weeks ago, I believe, and
Okay.
loved it. We had such a fun time. She's a kick.
She's great. She just
Yeah.
left here a little while ago. Had I known that,
Oh,
I would have
really?
had her sign me on and get me started here.
She would have came on and said, "Girl."
She's like, "Girl, you need to update this computer." I don't have time because I'm traveling, so
Exactly. So as a producer, what do you look for when selecting projects to work on? And are there any specific stories or themes that really resonate with you that you want to get in
well,
production or in development?
I strongly believe that Native people should be in all places when it comes to media, when it comes
Mhm.
to film or TV shows. So I look for something that we haven't been in, and that was one reason why I picked Prey, because Prey, because you don't see natives in sci-fi,
Right.
and it had such an unusual following. The following was like 99.9% male from 11 to 100. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. Well, what if we did? And so now, like, just having, like having Prey, it just showed like uh the women and native people that watch it, it's like 40%, 40% native. So we changed, that demographic a bit because, or added, I guess we can say we added to that demographic. So I
Mm-hmm.
look for things that haven't been done because I'm constantly trying to, push that envelope and push that button and try to do something within, whether it's feature, documentary, animation, episodic. So I just try to do something a little different because I
Mm-hmm.
watch things and I'm like, Native people could so do this, or we could be in that space.
Right.
And I just try to make sure that I put us in that space. And Pishon's my daughter, right?
No, I did not
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Oh, geez.
Pishon is my daughter. Hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why I said she
there you
was
go.
just here a little while ago.
Oh.
So, yeah. So Pishon's my
We
daughter. I'm
learned.
very proud of her. Have you seen the Ralph Lauren campaign?
I haven't not in its an entirety. I have not.
Okay. Well, you see a handsome, striking gentleman with really long braids. That's my son,
Uh-huh.
Philip.
Oh, okay.
And then if you
Wow.
go into the fine art section and you look up Wakia Jane,
Uh-huh.
Wakeah, that's my daughter as well.
Well, it's a family affair.
She's a painter. And then my oldest daughter is in Texas, and that's Valencia Myers, and she has a Medi Spa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. Well, congrats. You
yeah.
you've done
Well, you knew,
well.
Pisha. I was waiting for you to go, "Oh, how does it feel to"
Hey, we can go in that direction.
Yeah.
So, well, that brings up a good question. Having creative um, children, are they inspired by you still, and are you inspired by them?
I'm
And how
inspired by
so?
them, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to see them in a creative space. It's really kind of an honor and a blessing when we ever get to work together
Mm-hmm.
because we've functioned and lived together as a family. And like in my early films, either Pishon was camera 2 on Words from a Bear, the In Scott Mama Day. But then I always put my kids in my films usually, and primarily it was my son. My son was in that film as well. And he played the young Scott Mama Day and at the
Mm-hmm.
typewriter. And then you see him running, like Abel,
Right.
towards the sunrise. That's my son. What else did he do? Hanging on that cliff. So, like, I think
All
they
right.
just have always been around a creative, way. I mean, like Pishon has one time we were driving in the car to the set and she goes, "What do you think? What's something that you would like to do that we haven't done?" And I said, I said, "I'd like to work on a project together." And she was like, "We've already worked on like 3 projects together." So, but so it's kind of I like to be able to do that, and it's just kind of leaving. I tell them that what I'm leaving is a digital footprint,
Mm.
and if they can be in
Mm-hmm.
that footprint with me and help me and, leave their footprints too. If I
Right.
have future grandchildren I've never met, future great grandchildren that'll be coming, and
Right.
just so they can have that digital footprint.
And the connection of
Hmm.
the who came before you and how that's
Right.
interconnected to who they are
Right.
now.
Yeah, because as Native
Absolutely.
people, we leave footprints. We
Mm-hmm.
hand down dresses, we hand down moccasins. We have these heirlooms. But thinking about futurism and the way that things are going, it's nice that we can leave that digital footprint too.
Absolutely. That
Whether
was
it's in books, whether it's in films. Like I said, I've been able to have a multifaceted career, which has been nice. So I think that's kind of cool.
so. What specifically was your involvement in Prey, and what does it mean to you?
Oh my God, I was the creative producer in Prey. So we shot it during the pandemic. So it was only
Mm-hmm.
Dan, who's the director, myself. We had a line producer, we had our cinematographer, but just a like skeleton crew because we shot it in Canada when the border was closed.
Right.
So we were all up there on work visas. So it means a lot to me because I wanted, Comanche people to be able to see themselves in a positive way. I was
Mm-hmm.
raised by my grandparents, and so my grandmother was raised by her grandmother, and so I was being able to see, like, traditions and things that you never see in movies and, like, operating, like, 5 generations away from myself, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to put some of those things in there, made the film appealing. when you're making a film, you think, "Oh, who do I want this appeal to?" We never
Right.
thought it was going to be as big as it was, but for me, I wanted to have a positive film that, spoke to Comanche people, so they could say, "Oh my god, I didn't have to read the subtitles. They were
Right.
speaking Comanche, and I knew what they said." Or, "I saw her using medicine." Like, you never see Indians using medicine,
True.
and back then, we didn't have Walmart, we didn't have CVS, we didn't have these different drugstores,
We had the
so we
land.
were yeah, so we had the land, we had the water, we had plants, those were our medicinals, and
Mhm.
so I really liked it because it spurred a lot of conversations with young people to their grandparents or to their parents. It also, spurred a lot of elders were like, "When I saw that and she was doing this medicine, I started to cry because I was like, oh, it reminded me when I was a little kid and I'd be at my grandmother's and I'd fall and scratch myself and she'd walk out and, pick some things and then put it
Mhm.
together and, make it and doctor me with it." And, just having those kinda real moments
Right.
in a sci-fi, in The Predator. I mean, when I told some of my close friends I was going to make a Predator movie, they thought I was crazy. They're like, "Why would you make a Predator? Jane's gonna make a Predator movie? What? Why?" And then when it came out, it was just like, bam, and it blew the doors off
Right.
of Hulu and, broke all the records and stuff, and then, Native people really embraced it because we saw ourselves in a positive way, not just
Mhm.
Comanche people, but people overall. People would send me, like, Instagram little videos of, like, little girls, playing Nadu and throwing, like, little plastic axes or, people, it was just amazing, because it was like the first Native superhero because
Right.
they got to see somebody that was doing something. She was a girl, and she survived, and she killed this big alien, so, it could happen.
It could happen. Well, we
It could
just we
happen.
overall, we need more positive and reinforceful role models for the Native American people, indigenous people altogether, in fact.
Right. Absolutely.
What advice do you have for aspiring Native American artists and producers who are looking to make an impact in this industry?
I think the most important thing is go to work. Go to work. Like, if you're wanting to produce, start producing. You don't have to, start from the top. You can start like, I produced a lot of short films. I produced,
Mhm.
all types of things. I did every type of job. I went and spoke recently at a university, and it was a production class, and they had this big whiteboard, bigger than mine, and it had
Mm.
all the different production jobs, and there were, like, 20 jobs, and while I was waiting, while they were introducing me, I was looking at that thing, and I was counting, and I've done, like, 14 out of the 20. So, I don't think that, you should limit yourself because if you're out there working, then you're going to get experience. You'll get to meet the people that are making the films. You may not
Mhm.
be doing the job that you want to that day, but you never know what's going to come up because a lot of, my contacts I've made from just working on jobs, and I've had people call me, "Oh, by the way, we need a producer for this. Do you think you could come on and do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure, absolutely." So I
Right.
think being in that mix, make sure you're in the right, area if you really do wanna make films. If you wanna be a writer, then you need to have a stockpile of a lot of written scripts, different spec scripts, different types of things, because when you come up to bat, you can't say, someone's like, "Oh, well, send me your work." "Oh, I'm gonna go and write something. Can I do it in a couple days?" No, like, have your stockpile
Right.
and then be able to email out, "Sure, I'll go home and email you right now. I have 10 scripts waiting. I have, different specs," and then that's kind of impressive, right? So,
Right.
you're like, "Oh, yeah, I get that. Okay, good. Send it to me. I'll read it." So you never know, and so I tell everybody, "Just start working. Go to work," and because if you're on a set and you don't have a native producer or a native director and someone's doing something kinda hokey, it's kinda like see something, say something, right?
Right. Right.
And if you're there working as a grip or whatever, you can go, I'm a full blood native and we've never done anything like that." And then someone could turn to you and go, "Well, then what do they do?" And see right
Right.
there, you've already created that conversation and you've corrected something.
Do you think being challenged and being open to challenges is helpful as well?
Oh, absolutely. The bigger the films get, the more challenges you have. I can tell you that.
I can
So
imagine.
so yes, yes, because, you have to be able to, navigate those challenges, navigate those conflicts.
Right, right. It's always a juggling, I guess. And also, I guess, keeping all doors open because you never know what you may learn that you didn't expect to learn.
Absolutely, and if
Yeah.
you've done, like, a really great job, those people are going to keep in touch with you, just like with Ralph
Mhm.
Lauren. If you would have told me when
Right.
I was an account executive, "Someday you're gonna be on the production team and producing campaigns," I would be like, "No, I just wanna make my bonus and be on the sales team." I mean, you never know, right? Because
Right,
as your
right.
life evolves, as the world evolves, and did I ever think then I was gonna be a producer? Probably not. And, now being able to have that relationship and, make
Mhm.
those differences. I mean, that's a
Absolutely.
huge thing. That's a huge opportunity. Naomi Glasses is working with a billion-dollar company. Did she learn something? Oh, absolutely. She probably
Oh,
learned a
yeah.
ton of stuff, right? And she can apply that
Absolutely.
to her artwork. She can apply that to, her productions. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it's such the enormity of doors that could open and where it could go for her and for Indigenous Native American people altogether. You can't, I guess, be tunneled vision so much. You gotta just make sure that, you look at every possibility and, hey, you never know.
Absolutely.
In addition to your film and TV projects, you've also been involved in various artistic endeavors. Can you share with us some of your creative outlets and how they intersect with your work as a producer?
Yes, I think yes. Well, being able to create things and create fine art, I think really that does intersect within my career
Mhm.
because I'm coming, when I'm as a producer, when you're talking to a wardrobe team, when you're talking to working on set deck,
Mhm.
the set design, you can actually apply those things because you know how to make them or you've traveled. Also, I've just like to throw this in. I'm also a powwow dancer. I powwowed all
Oh,
my life.
wow.
When I was a little girl, my grandfather was a well-known MC, so I was able to travel. I was able to travel as a little girl to even I've raised all of my children powwow. They all dance, and we're all competitors. So just to be able to know people from like all over Indian country
Mhm.
is a gift because sometimes it's not always my culture that's represented in some of my
Right.
projects, and they're like, "I don't know how this would be said," or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, hey, I can tell you." And I text
Right.
one of my friends, and I'm like, "Oh, by the way, do you know how to say this? Or do you know what would you wear? What would you use to dye this? Or what kind of things do you have?" And they're like, "Oh, here it is," and send me a picture or send me something, and I think that really helps, and I apply that, and, I feel like, when we make our, powwow regalia, that's a fine art in itself because that's not
Mhm.
something that can be purchased anywhere. That's something that, you know, becomes something for your family, gets handed
True.
down, changes in different ways and changes with time. So, yeah, it all intersects for me.
Right. Well, it becomes a legacy piece because it's part of our ancestral connection to the past and to the future.
Totally. I have a dress right now, on exhibit down at, Disney World, and
Oh,
so
really? Wow.
it's at Epcot, and it's in the, Native American Heritage Gallery, and just prior to, the pandemic, that's the first time the Native American Heritage Gallery, which is an art gallery, had native art in it. Which seems like, "Oh, it would be
New
so easy,
concept.
right? The indigenous
Yeah.
people of this land." So, I mean, some things are slower to evolve, but the fact that it did evolve
Hey,
is an amazing thing, and the fact that I can be a part of that is amazing. And I've had friends go through that gallery, and then they're sending me pictures, "Oh, look, here's your dress," and, so, to me, that's really exciting. So like I said, I
absolutely.
wanna try to move, that needle and do things like in
Mhm.
multiple, areas, multiple.
We touched briefly about collaboration in your endeavors. Collaboration also often plays a significant role in the entertainment industry. How do you discuss some of the, or can you discuss actually some of your most memorable collaborations and how they influenced your approach to the storytelling and what you're trying to extract, but also project outward?
I think, like, my best example is Prey because that's the biggest example,
Hmm.
and, being able to make that during I come from an independent background of, independent film and documentary, and so being able to work on that during the pandemic, if like if we worked on that now, it'd be different because you'd have a lot of studio visits, which means you'd
Hmm.
have a lot of people, that share maybe not always the same opinion,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
so we would have had Disney executives, we would have had Hulu executives, we would have had 20th Century executives, all coming to look. But because the border was closed, we weren't able to, we didn't have those executives. So we were able to just make it like I told Dan, I was like, oh, this is easy. This is kind of how I always work because it's like an independent.
Right.
Even though we have a big budget and we have like a 330 person crew, we still had that flexibility, which I
Hmm.
think allowed us to both like um, just be wild when it came to creative.
Right.
Oh, what about this? What about trying that? What do just like the whistle, Comanche people, we don't whistle at night because that calls spirits to you,
Hmm.
and the spirits know where you are. But like in our ceremonies, we have two times during our ceremonies when you whistle. It's an eagle bone whistle, and it's at midnight and it's at sunrise. So there was a part that wasn't working, and we're shooting outside and it's cold because Canada's cold, and and he's like, I don't know, watch this. It's there's just something, and I said,
Right.
I know what she needs to do. And so Amber comes from a plains background too. So I went running on set and I'm like, okay, this time when you do the line, I want you to whistle and turn your head as you're whistling. And it was at nighttime we were shooting. And she goes, I'm not going to whistle. You whistle. I said, I'm not going to whistle. So we had a non native first AD walk by and we're like, Rich, can you whistle? And he starts just like doing zippity doo dog, sing us all. I said, okay, we want you to whistle, but not like that. We just want you to do one, and
Right.
and so I said, but Amber's gonna pretend like she's whistling, but you do the whistle. He's like, all right. And so we didn't tell him why we weren't whistling. And he didn't ask, which was great.
Hey.
So, so we did that whistle. So we did it like 3 or 4 times. And so here we are in edit, and Dan's just like, remember that one scene? The creepy whistle works. So I think like being able to collaborate like that and just having that
Right.
openness and, oh, we can try this or, oh, let's try that. That was just one really good example that I felt, I was able to put culture in it. And it was
Right.
nice because when we did a premiere just for the Comanche people in Lawton, Oklahoma. So we had like 6 theaters rented out and all the concessions and stuff. And so we had to start the movies all like kind of staggered because we had
Mhm.
to go in and say, oh, here's the movie, here's Amber, da, 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 and we'll come back and talk. But you heard when that scene came on, you heard people go, "Oh," because she whistles at night because she's had it with this predator. He's just impaled her brother. She's leveling up. And so
Right.
she goes against our rules and she whistles just to call that predator, and the predator's gonna come because he hears where she is, right? When she
Right.
whistles. So, that, but you heard, I mean, that's what I wanted it to speak to. It's like a private message, and they're like going, "Oh." Like when they hear her whistle, and
Mhm.
other tribes do that too, and it's so cool just to be in the theater and hear people go, when she whistles at night. It really wasn't her though, but
Well, has the AD that whistled at night, has he told you any stories of spirits following him around?
no, he's still alive in Canada somewhere.
Yeah.
He's fine. I'm sure he's working
Okay.
and he's fine. We checked on him a couple of times and he's fine.
So, as a Native American creative, what do you hope audiences take away from your work, and particularly in terms of representation and understanding of Indigenous culture?
I hope they're inspired. I hope they're inspired to learn more and to learn that
Mhm.
there is like a certain reality with Native people of our culture and our tradition. Because
Right.
I feel like in films we've been represented as pan-Indian, even though they say, "Oh, those are Comanches or those are Apaches." We're all just like pan, doing the same thing, you know, killing, murdering, killing, burning things, doing, whatever they have us as the bad people. So I think
Mhm.
that hopefully this inspires a great direction. I mean, look at Sterling Harjo's Reservation Dogs. That's
Right.
amazing, because it shows our comedic flair as Native people. It shows a reality because it shows them in the tribal homelands. They're not
Mhm.
living in teepees, they live in houses. A lot of
Right.
people, because we have been misrepresented historically and not just in film, but I just mean in education and in all of history,
Everything. Yeah.
people don't have an idea about us. They don't have an
Very
idea.
true.
And when I talk to young people wanting to get in film, I said, you really have to think that's when you're in film and you're standing there on that set, no matter what job you're doing something big because you may be the only Indian that people see.
Mm-hmm.
You may be the only
True.
Indian that they've ever seen in their life. Oh, they're
Yep.
working with you. You know, you're the only one on set. Have I been the only Native person on set? Absolutely. Do I try
Very
to hire
true.
more Native people and do depends on our budget, but I always try to do a program where people can come in and be interns or come in and be apprentices and learn so they can get their hours in so they can join. And I tell people that sacrifice. You're at a point you're going to have to sacrifice. You need to pay your union dues, your PGA dues, your director dues, your WGA dues. Absolutely. Anything that you can join it because we have to have the same accreditations that everybody else has.
Right.
We can't have the bar lowered just because we're Native. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's important that we operate on that same level. I just
Very, very
became
true.
a member of the TV Academy this year.
Oh, really?
And
Well,
yeah,
congrats.
because when you're nominated, Prey was nominated had 6 Emmy nominations.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're nominated, you're eligible. I wasn't eligible to vote this year. I mean, last year, but I'll be able to vote this coming year. But did I, like in the middle of Christmas, did I need to be paying dues to, join the producers peer group? No, but did I? Yes,
Right.
because we need more Native people in there.
Well, how do you navigate the responsibility of shedding light on Native American issues while also telling compelling stories?
I think there's different ways that you can navigate. It just depends on what level you're working with because it
Mm-hmm.
opens when people find out you're Native and you're adding things to Native stories, it opens conversations. People ask questions. Well, why is this or why did they do that? Or what year did this happen? I'm finding out working on the Peltier documentary that it's a history lesson, a rehistory lesson for me because
Right.
when all this was happening, I think I was like 10 or 11. So I knew because my grandparents used to be glued to the television to see what was happening and to watch. But I knew about it, but I didn't like know what I know now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, a lot of people expect you, oh, you're Native, and they'll ask you some wild question, expect you to be the expert on all natives. And you can say,
Right.
no, there's 572 tribes
Yeah.
here, but this is what I do know. And, but it's really, I find it's really opening or shedding light
Mm-hmm.
on our culture to a lot of people. Oh, so you're Native? Oh, yeah, because some people haven't even seen natives before.
Yeah. It's a continuation of educational learning for them because, like you said, they think we're just one tribe nationally where there's
Pan
500
Indian.
plus. Yeah. And yeah, we have some similarities, but also culturally and historically, and there's a lot of deep rooted elements that sets us apart, but also binds us together. And I think a
Right.
lot of people, non-native, don't understand that.
Right. Right. I think when I go into because I've been spending a lot of time in South Dakota and, I have friends that are from there, from North Dakota, friends all over, but the friends that are more elders when they're like, what are you working on? Oh, I'm working on a Peltier documentary. Oh my gosh, I'm glad somebody's doing it because this needed to be done. And so I think, like Native people, they're just waiting and watching.
Right.
It's kind of a unique time for us because we finally crossed over and we're able to use this media or medium to tell our stories, whether it's
Very, very true.
film, whether it's
Yeah.
TV, whether it's, an episodic drama on Peltier, whether it's, I mean, there's just all sorts of things and it's just open
Well,
and everybody's kind of listening.
right. And speaking of different mediums, your work spans different mediums from television to film. How do you adapt your creative process when working on projects with varying scopes and formats?
It's hard, but like I said, when I have numerous, projects, I'm able to adapt it, whether it's documentary, whether I need to, like, read more briefs and,
Hmm.
interview because you think the Peltier people are octogenarians now.
Right.
So it's just getting those people on tape because a lot of them are ready to talk. They're like, you know what? No one ever paid attention, but I'm going to tell you this story. This is what happened. And they tell you the story, and I'm
Right.
just like blown away. So it's kind of, for me, I feel like it's inspiring. I mean, it's not hard for me to go between different projects because
Mhm.
I'm one of those people. I'm probably like undiagnosed, what is it, ADHD or
Right.
so you just throw a bunch of stuff at me, and I'm like, okay, good, that's fine. So I feel like I have, I have that capacity, and it doesn't bother me. I want to retire in 9 years. I just told Pishan that this morning. So I feel like I have a lot of work to get done and to finish and to get out there. I'll probably never really retire. I'll probably just do. She said, you won't retire. You're probably doing like one or two projects a year. And I said, well, maybe, but seriously, I'd like to
Yeah.
retire, right now I think I'm in a good spot, and I'm able to open the door for a lot of people to walk through, and
Mhm.
a lot of people to step in, and I mean, we have so many things that are untried. I mean,
Right.
and if you think about the films that have been by Native people, they've all been successful, right? You don't
Right.
just see something come out and go, "Oh my god, that was such a bomb," because people are just, like, ready for it. It's something that's new. Our stories are new. It hasn't I guess, segment of or, swatch of America, or this, culture in America is, like, I say it's untapped because
Absolutely.
everything's new, right? So you don't see people going, "Oh, that was so horrible. I can't believe they made it. They gave them how many million to make this or make that?" We're just making
Mhm.
it. We're just,
Well,
"Okay, here's my budget. Can we make this?" And we're just making it, and people are like, "Wow, I really watched that, and that blew me away."
exactly. Well, I think there's such a hunger for non-natives to understand who we are. There's such an appetite to wanna know more now because of Res Dogs, because of Killers of the Flower Moon, because of fashion and everything else that's happening in the outside world. There's real hunger, which is great. We can feed them.
Yes,
There's
absolutely.
plenty of stories and plenty of things to tell them.
Absolutely. I think we're in a unique position, and I think that's really because I don't feel like when I'm taking meetings with, different people that are interested in projects, I don't feel like people are saying they don't say, "I've seen that before."
Right.
They're not like, "Oh, I've seen that," or, they're like, "Oh my god, that's really new. I never thought of that. Oh, who thought of this?" Or,
Mhm.
"How can we make this happen?" Because it is new. So I feel like, everything's always been pretty positive.
So we talked briefly about some upcoming stuff that you're doing. Are there any other upcoming projects besides Parterre and the culinary that you're collaborating on that you're particularly excited about and you can share with us?
There are, but I can't, share it.
They're above your head.
It's above my head, and if you were here, you could just look up here and see it for yourself. Because 'cause I'm always like, "Oh, I need to do it." Okay. No, I think that there because our storytelling isn't just limited to, a specific genre,
Mhm.
I can say that, and I can say that, you know, I mean, I feel like being in sci-fi, it really, I mean, here it is like 20 when Prey came out in 22, late 22, and really natives are finally in sci-fi. I mean, to me, that was just like, "Oh my gosh," because it's
Yeah.
undefined, right? We're not defined, and I don't feel like people, "Oh, we've already seen that and not this again," or so I
Right.
think if people really come outside of their box, and I say that Native people deserve to be everywhere. We deserve to be everywhere in film and television.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that we should just, not, like, think that we just have to be in a certain box, so that's what I can say. So it'll be, like, something no one's thought of, hopefully.
Right. How do you think the entertainment industry can better support and amplify the voices of Native American artists and storytellers like yourself and others out there?
I think, they can be open to more collaborations. I think that we're starting to head that way because so I worked in the entertainment industry about, like, 18 years ago maybe, and at that time, I can honestly say we didn't have enough creatives to fit all of these different positions, right?
Mhm.
And so within that time, and which includes myself because I was just an executive at the time. I wasn't a producer. I think that now we have all those creatives that can make this happen. So it's a difference if you're trying to sell a story and you just give them a story and you walk off. We can't do that.
Right.
We have to, oh, here's the team that comes with the story. Here's the
hmm
creative team. Here's who you need. And we have all of those people. So it kind of gives them a little, oh, it's kind of like a little better insurance. Well, yeah, because we won't try to, it's not us trying to tell the story. We can fund them telling this story because
Right.
these are the people that are going to make it. So I think being able to do that when I worked on Words from a Bear, Jeffrey Palmer was our director, and that was American Masters. American Masters had never seen an all native creative team.
Wow.
They had never seen that.
Amazing.
And we walk in and we're pitching this, and why Scott Momaday, and who's Scott Momaday, and why do
Right.
this? I mean, because their model is just different. They have a
hmm
different model, and we were not, we didn't fit that model, but yet we were able to pitch it, sell it. We got the money from them to make it. And Scott just passed away like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago. So they've been playing it all the time on
Hmm.
on PBS. So every time I turn PBS on or I'm scrolling, I see it, and I'm watching that
Wow.
and I'm like, because we're able to premiere that at Sundance.
hmm
And you just have to take those chances, and you have to be bold, and you have to go in and explain yourself and represent, because you're representing more than you might be a native person walking through that door. But I love the scene that Sterling Harjo did in Reservation Dogs when they're in prison, and the young girl is, I mean, one Lily's in prison, and the young girl's like, Lily prays for her or something. She goes, I just don't see anything, and all those elders and ancestors are
Right.
standing behind her, right? That's kind of the same thing. It might be a little scary. You're going to talk to Apple or you're going to talk to Netflix. You still have to walk through those doors, and
hmm
you have all of that behind you. You have all of
Yep.
those people that are pushing you through, and oh, I may be a producer, but here are my top 5 choices as directors. Oh, I can fill a writer's room. Here's 10 writers. You can pick from
hmm
them. They're all in the WGA. We can fill a writer's room. We have all of those people. We have camera people. We have, I'm working on a lot of projects with Kyle Bell, and not only is he a good director, but he's an amazing cinematographer. His mentor is Spike Lee. He had the Rolex Fellowship, and he
Wow.
traveled the world with Kendrick Lamar filming him at the concerts.
Hmm.
So, okay, well, we can film it too. This is who we have. You
Right.
just have to have that. You build that list up. And how do you build that list up is by meeting people and being and working. And
Yep.
are you an AP that day, or are you you know, PA that day? Whatever you are, you're still meeting people, and you're gaining all of this knowledge.
hmm Like we say, we bring our brothers and sisters and cousins with us,
Absolutely.
even our aunties.
Absolutely. I always say that too. I said, I have some people the government doesn't even know about. What do you need done?
Exactly. Well, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work, both as an artist and as a representative of Native American culture in the media?
Oh gosh. Like I said, I want to leave that digital footprint, but I want to do
Yeah.
some things that people haven't thought of, or that they didn't even think that Native people could do. So I want to leave that legacy, whether it's in, like with Ralph Lauren. I feel, I'm honored that I was able to do that because that was a first. So
hmm
anytime that you see a first, I want like Jhane Myers' name to be there. Like, oh, Jhane Myers was producing on the first Ralph Lauren Artist in Residence campaign. Oh, that's cool. Oh, wait, she was the first sci-fi. Oh, that's great. She was the first Native producer to be nominated for the PGA. Oh, that was great. I wanna just, have, like, a history of firsts behind me, just to show people, yes, you can do it, and yes, it can be done. Would I rather be on a set than sitting in, a big, fancy award show? Absolutely.
Right, right. Well, it's that creative
Absolutely.
environment that probably upflips you and gets your momentum. How are you inspired and motivated?
Oh gosh. I'm just motivated by, for me, it's trying to do something that no one's done before. So I'm constantly thinking, I write little notes down. I carry a little notebook with me everywhere. And if I'm like somewhere and I think about something, I
That's
write
a
it
big
down.
book. That's not little.
Well, I know I got a lot to do, 9 years, right?
Wow.
So, I try to write those ideas down and I try to think of
Uh-huh.
things. I have a show that we pitched that didn't, uh, we ended up doing I can't say which streamer, but it was a streamer, and they gave us money to do a pilot, then they ended up shelving the show. So just the other night, I was watching something different, because I watch all the different streamers to see what they have. And I thought,
Mhm.
"Oh, we could do that with this show and we can rework it." So now I have a phone call tomorrow where I'm gonna present this to our creative team and say, "Remember that didn't sell?" And they asked us, "Well, how could you make it more sports?" I know how to make it sports.
Mhm.
So I wrote down the whole plan and everything. So now I'm gonna pitch it and maybe we can recut our footage and then go back or even go to a different streamer and do something,
Hmm.
that would be successful. So I do all that kind of weird stuff all the time. With
You're juggling.
I do.
You're juggling.
But that's part of native life. Did we not I
Yeah.
mean, our ancestors have juggled all of our lives. We had to juggle a different culture, a different
Mhm.
language, different homelands,
Yep.
dressing different. I mean, we had to juggle all of that. And so I think, if they could do it, then I can do it. And it's not so
Yep.
hard because I can write mine on paper.
Right.
So, it's just kind of, we're instilled with that because our ancestors have always done that. I'm doing something right now that my grandparents could have never imagined, never. But they always like pushed me and believed that I could do something even when I didn't know that what I would be doing, right? They always believed, oh, she's going to do something. She's going to, because they just, I don't know. I flourished, I guess, with them because they always instilled that, you can do anything and you can do this. So I always believed I could. And my main reason in the beginning was getting within short films was trying to do something about the racism that my grandparents, that I saw them go through as a child.
Mhm.
Always. And so I just thought, I want to make this a better place for them. I want to make this a better place where they're comfortable, where they can go into a movie and they can watch a movie and see our culture and, and be represented. But unfortunately, I didn't have that chance. But think about all the young people that are in, sorry, my dog. Think about all
That's
the young people
aw.
that are in native areas that don't even know, this is possible, and then I tell them,
Right.
"Oh, well, you can make a movie with your cell phone, and you can edit on that, and you can, post it to YouTube, or you can post it to TikTok, or, you have
Right.
all of these things. Oh, good, I'm gonna go home and film my grandmother. I can go do this or film a story." There's just
Mhm.
all of these ways that people can be inspired, and I'm just trying to as a person that's, um, not, not very, very young, really, really young. I feel like I'm just trying to keep up with it. I want to keep up with it and I
Right.
want to try to do something, because here's
I
all of
hear you
these,
there. Yep.
here's the Pishons of America coming behind me, and they're going to be like, pass me up. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this really quick. And, I'm going to try to get this done. So
Right.
I think that's what kind of inspires me is, I can see all of these people coming up.
Yep. So what else do you have to share with us that you'd like to our audience to know about you and what you do and what's next?
What's next? That whole my dry erase board above there,
How do you keep that thing up above you? I would
it's the devil stick, those, things they advertise on TV, that you can stick it on
Oh,
there or
okay.
whatever.
Okay.
It's up there, so that way I can just sit back here and go, "Oh, I gotta do this, this, and this." So it's up there with all my projects. Then I have one in my kitchen too, so when I'm walking out of my kitchen, I can see that. So, I don't know, hopefully people, think that I'm inspiring and, maybe learned a few things of wisdom as I, spoke to you today. And maybe I inspired a few people to do things, to go to work, go on set, do different things. I mean, I just want everybody, I mean, this is our time and
Mhm.
we're doing really, and I want it to be a movement and not just a moment. You hear people say that and
Oh, yeah,
it it
absolutely.
has to be a whole movement, so when people
Mhm.
think about writing with non-native persons trying to write a story and it has an Indian guide or it has a spirit animal or something, I want them to go, oh, that's not true because I saw this and
Right.
it was portrayed in a different way. Call the Writers Guild or call the tribe and try to, talk to everybody has a museum or cultural preservation or a language department. Call a museum, they'll refer you to somebody. There's like a million. I don't want to leave any stone unturned where someone said, "Oh, well, we just did it this way because we didn't know who to ask." That's
Right.
impossible nowadays. You have Google, you can look up things, you have a computer, you have a
Hmm.
phone. That is impossible. So that story doesn't fly anymore.
The correct information is obtainable. It's not a guessing game
Absolutely.
anymore.
It's obtainable and then some, because just that by asking that
Exactly.
one question, you open the door and then you find out like 5 other things.
Hmm.
So,
True.
it's very obtainable. And it's very up to date, and we don't have to be in stuff that's, historical or all just westerns. We can be in numerous things because we're here every
Hmm.
day.
True. True.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just because of first contact doesn't mean we disappeared. We're still here.
No, we're absolutely still here, and I think that,
Yeah.
just this whole movement, I think will, and I'm glad that I'm a small part of it, I have a little something to do with things here and there, and I think, if people wanna do this, go to work.
Yep.
Just go to work,
Well,
show up.
Miss Jhane Myers, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. It's been a complete joy, and thank you
Oh,
so much for your time today.
thank you. You made my day. I'm glad to be here. Thank
Oh,
you.
great. Well, you take care of yourself, and we will chat soon.
Sounds great. All right, take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for embarking on this artistic journey with us. Keep exploring, keep creating. Until we meet again, let your imagination soar beyond the art. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on your preferred podcast platform.